Hello everybody out there, it's Tim again, and what am I doing today? Well, some of the projects I do, I have to cut foam with, and usually I just kind of butcher it out, and I know my kids do a lot of things where they cut foam, and they get butcher it out too. So, I thought, wonder how a hot wire cutter works. So I looked, and actually there's a bunch of people on YouTube that show how to make them. And I got a couple ideas together from a lot of the different people, and I'm going to try and make my own with stuff that I had laying around. I didn't have to go out and buy too much, except for a motor speed controller for a pulse width modulator, and that's just to adjust the voltage going to the wire, so you can. I'm going to use an old computer power supply, probably, a laptop power supply, see what kind of current I can get out of that. And then we'll run it through the pulse width modulator, and it'll go through the wire. I did have to buy some wire too, because I didn't have any of the, what do they call that, that special wire. It's a resistive wire for projects and stuff. So it's not a direct short, but it'll be low enough resistance it'll get red hot. So what do I have here? This was a board on a shelf that I took apart, and I just threw it down on the table saw and made it 18 inches by 18 inches. Then I had some 2x6s, and I actually pretty much cut them right in half. So a little bit less than half, so I could shave each side. But it's these are each thickness of 2.5 inches, and they're 18 inches wide. And they'll go down the two sides. And then just kind of for added support, one will go in the back, like so. And then this one's going to go somewhere around the middle, and there'll be some type of contraption on there that's going to hold the wire, the wire that's going to come through. And then here's a rod, if I can get that into the camera, just a metal rod. And what I'll do is I'll drill a hole through here, bring the rod through, put a couple of bends on it so that the rod doesn't turn. And then when it's sticking through the other side, I'll bend it over so it makes almost like an arc above the board. And then it'll be facing from the top, I guess around 10 to 12 inches. We'll see what it looks like. And the wire will attach to that and go down, and it's the other side here. And basically, this will be the positive, and the rod itself will be the negative. And that looks to be pretty easy. So I'm going to give it a try and see if it's as easy as they make it seem on YouTube, because sometimes YouTube is. But so I'll take you along with me as I'm doing this. First, I'm going to do is flip the board over, drill some pilot holes. I'll glue these on, and I'll also screw them in with a couple of screws. The back one here, won't put this one in yet until I know exactly where I need it. But I just put it to show you. Once I have this in place, and I'll be able to drill my hole back in here, and it'll come through this side. I'll put a couple of bends on this rod to keep it from twisting. If you just put a rod in and turn it, then basically the rod can spin. So I got to put some bends on it. This is a 1/4 inch. I may really regret using this, but I think one guy used it, and I think what I liked about it is it actually offers a little bit of spring tension when you have your wire on the other end, because it's strong enough to keep the positioning and the bend you put on it, but yet on the other hand, it does give a little bit of tension or a little bit of relief, so it'll act as a spring kind of. So we'll see how that works. So right now I'm going to start to drill these boards in and put the bends on this rod, and I'll be back. I don't think you really need to see me drill holes in a board. Okay, there it is with the bottoms screwed and glued on. And I'll clean it up a little bit more, but now I'll put a hole right about here. I'll go from the other side. Make sure that I've cleared the wood, and the rod will come out and bend kind of like that. It'll be bent over, make it about to the midpoint there. And I'm thinking, I don't know, I guess, I don't know, 10 inches or so. And I don't know if it has to be a full foot. Let me see how ridiculous a foot would look. I think a foot might look a little bit ridiculous because that would be that high. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I'll make it a foot. Nice round even number to where the bend is. So let me get that hole drilled, and then I'll go down and put a couple of bends on this rod. I'll probably have to do that down in the actual garage. So stay tuned, you're missing all the fun. Okay, so now I fed my rod in, and as you can see I've got a couple of little bends on there, so now when I clamp it on it won't move because it'll keep it from rolling basically. Might have to take a little bit more out of that up there so it sits a little more flush. But now you can see what I have here on the other end. Where is it? Well, kind of get the hint. Anyhow, so I'll bend this to be about 12 inches off the top. I think we decided that, so I'll set this light probably right at about the 12-inch mark, and I'll know where to level off. And then I'll make kind of like a shepherd's hook looking thing. So we'll make this light right at 12 inches above the board. That's 14. That's 12 and a half. That's about 12 right there. So I'll start my bend and ideally end up with it about that height. Looks like I can take it down a little bit more. Move this out of the way. That's about the height we want. Now I'm going to have to actually change my bends underneath a little bit because I want this in the center of the table. And while I could probably just manhandle that a little bit, it'll probably be fine. It's not quite in the center of the table. Alright. I'm going to take this back. I'll take this back down the garage, and let me see. I'm going to have to mark it where I want to cut it. So let me get it lined up first. I get a stand on it practically, so no sense in watching me kill myself. Okay, wasn't that far off actually. So let me put my little marker in the center, and let's see how much of the rod we have to strip off. Let's see if I bend this down a little bit, looks like. That looks pretty straight. Like I said, it's going to come up when I actually mount it there. Just kind of get an eyeball where I have to cut it. Because I'll go down the garage and do that as well. So nice thing about it being a square is I can just kind of make an X. I don't have to measure specifics. So right there will be the center point. You can't really see what I'm doing here. Right here will be the center point. I just laid a straight edge and cut a diagonal on each end because it's 18 inches. So that was my center point right there. And I'll use something as a plumb bob to find the center of that. And then I can cut it. And we should be good to go. Okay, so what I'm doing now is this hole here, I end up drilling at the 5/16. I needed a little bit more room to make that bend. And these clamps here, of course I don't have the right size, they're a little bit smaller. I think I have like 3/16 and that's 1/4 inch. So I'm bending them around my screwdriver. And the screws I have, well, of course they're too long. So I'm drilling like a pilot hole with the pointed one, and then once I get the pilot hole drilled, I snap a little bit off and I put that through. otherwise they'll stick through the board. So we put a couple more of these in, and then we'll be ready to flip it over and do the finishing measurement on that the rod, so we have it to the right length, and then we'll decide what we're going to do with that. Okay, so if I put a little bit of spring tension on this rod and then use what I have there, you can see, follow it down right to here, right to my mark on the board. That tells me that I'm going to have to cut the rod to be this long. So I put a little piece of masking tape up on top of the rod there. You know, because what happens when you try and mark steel with a marker? Unless you want it to go away, it'll stay there forever. But so that's marked, so I'll cut that. And that'll be about the right height. And then what I've seen people do is either thread or drill a hole in this and put a nail through it and solder it in. I'll decide what I'm going to do. And kind of put a lip up, and then you can zoot or swing your wire around the lip or attach it to a washer or whatever, and then kind of down on the other end, down on the board, it'll come down and go through a hole here, and underneath you'll have that piece of wood that I showed you that I'll mount underneath like that. It'll be underneath, I'll have a hole drilled through it, and then the other end of the wire will go there, so that'll make up my circuit. There'll be the plus and that'll be the minus, or vice versa. Okay, so I got that cut, and we measured again down to there. So what I want to do is then we use actually a wood saw, like one of those flat bit saws, or flat bits, and cut it to about the right size to this washer, so it's going to countersink it just enough for that washer to fit in, and then I'll drill the rest of the hole. That washer is kind of takes some of the wear out of it, so the hot wire's not leaning against this this wood. So I'm going to take care of that right now. So obviously I don't want to go all the way through with this, but enough. Oh, it's good. I put it in the hole that way I know where it's at. So the fit is perfect. I was afraid it was going to be too small and I'd be here messing around with it. It looks like it fits in there perfect. So next thing I want to do is kind of knock these high spots down here. Get rid of all these little wood pieces. And then I'll take the paddle bit off, use a regular bit to make that hole bigger so the wire fits. But so here's the washer I bought. Well, I had it down in the garage, I didn't buy it. And that seems to fit in there real nice. Looks like maybe I can take it down just a tad more. Let me see. No, actually that fits in there nicely. Because the way the wood is, it sticks up a little bit, but that fits pretty nice. So I'll pop that out, throw a little bit of glue behind it, put it back in, and I'll drill the hole down here. Probably about, oh, I don't know. Let's see what size the opening in that bit is. I'll do a 3/8 because the opening is a little bit bigger than 3/8. So we pop that out, put a little bit of glue in there, and while I have it out, I'll drill the other thing to 3/8. Okay. And I still haven't decided what I want to do about the top piece, whether I'm going to tap it or just drill it and solder or what. Alright, there's that. Make these chunks out here again. Normally I don't do stuff like this up here. I do it down in the garage, but it's a little bit cold a little bit cold outside, and by the time I go down and get the garage heated up, and I got stuff down there in the way, and I figured, well, I'll just do it up here. And probably I wouldn't film it if I was down in the garage anyhow, just more of a pain in the butt. So let me put a little bit of glue in here and pop this back in. And I'm going to decide what I want to do about how I want the hook to be in here. Like I said, I've seen people drill it and tap it. I've seen people drill it and solder a little piece in there. I mean, I could even tap the outside and put like a nut on it or something, but we'll see. Okay, I decided. Let's see if we can zoom in enough. Just kind of flew by the seat of my pants there. I drilled a hole through there and it ended up being 5/64, and then I got a little tiny screw that I just had laying here that just happened to fit right in there, kind of not super tight, but let's see if I can zoom in and show you if it's going to focus on that. Put my hand behind it. Well, I guess it's not going to zoom in. Anyhow, what I did was put the screw in. There you go. You can probably see it there. There you go. And then that's good enough. Anyhow, and then I soldered it in, and then that'll give a little bit of a shoulder for when I loop either a wire or a washer. I could loop a wire around it, whatever I want to do, or a washer. I've seen people again use like the washer as the end. You loop your wire around the washer, stick your washer around here like so, with the wire pulling down to underneath, and so that's the next thing I have to do. Is I'm gonna put a 1/4 inch. Where are you? Zoomed on. I'll put a 1/4 20 bolt about 3 inches long through here, so it'll be long enough that I can put a nut on the end to keep from turning, and put a wing nut here. So I have to measure that from underneath and put that in. Then I think after that we'll be pretty much ready to go. I'll be ready to do the electrical, and then I'll cut out a piece of Lawan or whatever I have, real thin plywood or Lawan or something from to make the cover plate here, and I'll have the switches in here. And really the reason I bought that one, got it on Amazon, of course. If you're looking for them, just do motor controls and then the voltage you're going to be using. I think this is like 6 to 30 volts. That'll be fine. But this has everything on it. It has a switch. It has a potentiometer, and this right here I think that gives me like a percentage, like maybe 0 to 100. I don't know really what that gives me, but that'll tell me if it's turned on, you know. Or if I say, hey, this works really good for cutting this size of stuff, I can mark down for cutting 3-inch styrofoam, use 65 or whatever. But you can use whichever one you choose, obviously. And we'll see how it works. I'm really curious to give it a try and see if it works as good as they say. I'm looking now, and I see this seems to be a little, maybe I made it too tall. Maybe I should have went 10 inches. I can still do that. That's not a problem. I just remeasure it and bring it down about that height. I'm going to try it because we already got it bent. I'm going to try it like that and see. But I was just afraid that maybe it'll be too pliable. But I think the way I've seen people cut with them on YouTube or any other little projects, it looks like it cuts it like butter, so it may not have to be that rigid. Find out. Okay, I have my support underneath. It's not glued or screwed in yet. And here it is. What I did here was put my bolt through, and I have it kind of long, so I'll have plenty of adjustment should things change. I can move it back and forth under this hole. This will be the wire that goes for the plus, and then I'll put one over here for the negative and drill a hole through this board for that as well. I have to go back down to the garage and get my clamps. I think I'll do that tomorrow. It's getting late now, and I'm getting tired of playing with this. But one thing I did want to check was the wire I decided to go with was 28 gauge, and I'm going to just try it and see how it works. I'll loop some onto this here, and I just want to see how things are going to work out. Again, like I said, never built one of these. Look kind of fun and not too hard. Hopefully it'll work as well as they seem to work. But let me untwirl this a little bit and put it on that washer. I'm going to twirl twirl around the washer almost like a knot, and then bring it straight down through the hole. I'll show you as soon as I get it done. Alright, so here we have, I'll show you the very top. Where is it? Right there. And all I did was just twist the piece through the washer and bring it down. It's kind of tight. Not that tight, but and then underneath just clamps in between the two washers behind the wing nut there. And of course it's not tight yet because I don't know where the wire is going to run and how much wire I'm going to need, but this all looks to be okay. Yeah, there you go. You can play a song. I mean, I'm sure I could make it tighter or looser. I don't know. I know it has to be a little bit tight, but I don't know if it's too tight, if it'll break. This is all a learning curve. So let's see. I'm going to drill one more hole in this board for the negative wire, and I think we'll call it a night then after that, and then we'll give it heck again tomorrow. And there's really not that much more to do. Just connect things, and probably if I decide to paint it or whatever. I'm going to get the white, so I'll just paint the sides here. That'll be it. And well, probably before I paint it, I'm going to give it a try, because if it doesn't work at all, if this has all been a big waste of time, then I don't want to put too much time into making it look good. But I mean, I think it should work. I don't see why I wouldn't, unless I'm forgetting something major. All right, we'll be back. Alrighty, got that all painted up and sitting on the washing machine drying. Never should put it in the dryer to have it dry. There's the front. That's all I have to do there. One thing I did notice before I started painting was I forgot to attach that crossbar right there. So as you can see, it is now screwed in. That's attached. Have the wire run there, and I'll show you how we're going to hook those up. That was just temporary yesterday for when I wanted to make a test run. Okay, so here we go. Here's that panel that I was going to use here. It's you can see it's some kind of white coating. I had to flip the lens so I can make sure. Some kind of a white coating on here. I forget what they used to call that. I wouldn't recommend putting it against a bathroom wall or anything because the back's cardboard, but this part here is definitely waterproof. But anyhow, so I have that cut out. I cut that out with a utility knife, and you can see that fits like that's going to fit in there pretty nice. And I already drilled the hole for the switch, which leaves me with the hole for the for the potentiometer. Here's the switch, which leads me to something kind of interesting, and I'm glad one of the wires broke off it anyhow, but they give you the switch and it's all wired in, right? And wired into here. Well, how the hell do you put it into your panel, unless you're going to cut the wires, which I'm going to have to cut the wires and resolder them, but for maybe somebody that's not good at soldering, or maybe doesn't have the equipment, or a little bit hesitant to do it, it's kind of an interesting concept that they would not just put a plug there or do something else. Maybe you could pull the wires off, but they're soldered on, so that's not a problem. I'll just chop that and then make this hole the correct size, And then I'll be able to put that through. Then this will be done, and I'll just attach it to the front and do the wiring, and we'll be ready to go. I still haven't decided. I think what I'm going to do with the power supply is probably put a little plug up in here, even though I'm kind of hesitant to do that. But I really don't even know what I'm using for a power supply yet anyhow, so I'll put a plug up in here. That'll answer a lot of questions, or resolve a lot anyhow. Okay, I'll be back when I get everything ready to go. Well, I guess I'm going to have to take this apart anyhow. I can hear something rattling around in there. Unless I can get it to rattle its way out. I have to pull it apart and see what the heck that is. Alright. Got that ready to come off. What makes this come out? Oop, just pops out. Oh, there's a washer in there. Probably from when they shipped it. The washer from the doohickey. The washer from the well, probably the potentiometer. Okay, well that helps me too, because while I have it out, I can see which way the bottom is. The little dots are down here, so that would indicate the decimal point is down, so that points down toward the bottom of the display. Would also be where the bottom of those junction blocks are. So it would look like that. Okay. Oh, well, now I got it out, I see it would have been that easy to pull that connector off too for somebody. But you know what? The negative wire broke off anyhow, so it would have needed soldered. So not a big deal, but if you're going to do something like this and you're thinking you don't want to solder, just take a look at it. It may come right apart like this did. Comes apart pretty easy. Just put your fingernail underneath there and you can see where the little tabs are, right there and there. Okay. Okay, so here's the finished product. Well, finished product as far as that goes, but here's the knob. This will be the start switch. Here's the redot. Then, like I said, I'll probably end up putting another hole over here and throwing one of those power supply jacks in, and I think I got a bunch of them around here somewhere. And oh, watch my big head. So we'll be ready to throw this or wire this up. I'll solder these wires back on. Actually, I'll pull these up. Okay, here's almost done. To explain the wiring, there's the what I would call the negative side. That's to the shaft that sticks up and makes the bend, and the cable or the wire attaches to at the very top for cutting. I make the positive side this port under here, mainly because more is exposed, and if you're doing something weird and lean against it, the ground side's usually the side that can take the abuse. Let me just put that, think of your car. You take the negative cable off first, because if you're doing the positive and your wrench accidentally falls against the positive in the engine or the hood or something, then you get sparks and you weld your hood shut. So anyhow, same kind of concept here. The exposed part's going to be the negative. Enough said about that. Comes over here. I just used little crimpy connectors on both. You can see I double knotted this. Actually, it looks triple knotted, but the first knot just to keep it into the wood. Double knotted, and then here's where the wire comes from underneath. Cables go over. Okay, I did attach the switch back in there again, of course. This is real easy. It tells you right here. Motor, then the power. I'm gonna see the motor side minus and plus, and the power side plus and minus. So got those two. I just have to do that yet. Those two, and like I said, I'm probably gonna end up putting a switch over here, or a plug right over here somewhere. I'll just drill another hole. Got the front all put on. Had some of these nails, the carpet nails. You know how when you're putting down a carpet, those nails, I had them laying around. Like I said, I'm trying to do this with just stuff I have laying around, other than obviously this and the wire. But that's it. So let me put this last part on, and we're pretty much ready to go. I didn't want to zip tie these wires together yet. I'll make a nice neat bundle down here. I want to keep them a little bit long in case things have to move. Sometimes, you know, things don't work the way you plan. Trust me. But then I'll make the power wire, and that'll be the last 2 connections to that, and we'll be ready to go after that. Alright, talk about not following any convention. I put this through here, kind of on the front, and goes through here, and I chose the yellow to be the plus and the white to be the minus. And I gotta dump those chunks out of there yet. And I just figured I'd drill through the block there as a nice holder, and let me zip tie those. We're gonna flip it over and give it a try. Okay, Sammy's gonna take it on its maiden voyage. So go ahead, Sam, push the green button. Okay, see, that's the 0. So turn it up. We'll try about, see if you can get to about 50. I don't know about that power supply, how far that's going to get us. And maybe go a little more than that. No, it's getting hot. I can see the steam, smoke coming off of it. Okay, wait, let me get to the side so I can see you. Okay. Voila, here, hold them down in front of the camera. Nice, nice job. So that's the completed project, and that's with a laptop computer transformer. I have a bunch of those laying around. I don't know how high I can get. I think yesterday we decided that with about 15 volts, we were going around a little bit over 2 amps when we were up at about 70-some%, and that was plenty for the regular power supply. So that's it. That's the finished product. Thanks for watching, and if you're going to try one, it's a little time consuming, but not that bad, but it definitely works like they say it does.